Hello and welcome in this video tutorial where I'm going to show you how to draw heads. So the first thing we are going to do is draw a circle. So if the first circle is not good, you can undo and restart. Usually it takes some time when you first open the software and start to draw. So let's say I'm happy with this. I'm gonna put a straight line like this, a vertical line. And after this, I'm going to put a horizontal line like this. So this is quite interesting for me because now I have the right amount of information in order to start laying my proportions. So this is the top of the head. I've divided my circle in half, and now I have 1/3 of my head here. I have another third here. And you guessed it, I can add the same length here in order to have the bottom of my head. So now I know where my chin will be. So I can put my chin approximately here, and I can now lay down my jaw like this. So you can slightly angle the jawline towards the chin here in order to add a more organic look. So this will be the very basic framework for my head. So if I want, in the same way, I can create a sphere there or a circle. But you need to start thinking in 3D, so I will use the term sphere rather than circle because it represents a sphere. And now, starting from this, in the front I can put a vertical line, divide my head using a cross line like this, and I can, from this part, join the bottom of the circle or a little bit above to my chin. So this will of course be the side view, and this will be the front view. So now what I can do is adding the basic features of my head. So I know that the basic features of my head are the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and of course the ears. So I'm gonna divide my framework here in two, or like this. So now I have two pieces, the top part and the bottom part. If I project this line like this, this will correspond to my eye line. So here I can drop the information of my eyes. So from the front view I can drop two lines like this, and from the side view I can drop something like a triangle or more like a bow shape, and I can even project it more inside like this, so I still need to have a little bit of space there. So now I can add the brows. So I add the brows like this. Here it's the same thing approximately, so but in reverse here. And now I can put a small triangle shape where the nose will be, and you can see it's on the second third. So the bottom will be something like this. And in the profile view I can make the nose like this. note that here I've broken the nose on the bridge of the nose. So if you have if you take the skull here, it will be the open part, and here you will have the eye sockets, and here the mouth and the brow like this. Okay, so here is the bridge of the nose. So now what I can do is take the last third and divide it in two, and this will correspond to the bottom of the mouth, so the bottom lips. What I can do is a little bit above the bottom lips, I can draw a line, a straight line. I'm gonna do the same here. And if I take the center of the eye and drop a line vertically, this will give me the corner of the mouth. Approximately here it's the same. So now the last thing I miss is the ears. So I can, from the top of the brows here to the bottom of the nose, I can drop a ear shape. So you can see that the ear is something like an ellipse, but slightly pointier at the bottom. So top of the brows, and it's slightly pointier at the bottom. And of course, this is because we are in a front view here. On a side view for the ear, we are still gonna drop it in the right position. We are going to put the ear in the rear of the head, so behind the central line there, like this. And we have basic placements of the head. I think I'm gonna shorten the chin there, so it looks more realistic there. So one important thing to note is that from the side view, the mouth is going to be wrapped around a cylinder form like this. So if you take your teeth from the top view, it looks like something like this. Okay, so if you now look at your teeth from the front, you will have something like this, like your mouth from the front. But if you look sideways, meaning that we are looking like down from this angle there, you will see something like this, with your teeth placed like this inside, and your tongue there. Okay, so you will have on top of this your lips, like this, and the nose, something like this. So it's really important to make a barrel shape like this, or a cylinder shape like this, because in fact you can also view it as a cylinder in 3D. So if I'm drawing a cylinder in 3D, I can put the mouse on top of it like this. Okay, and the nose will project a shadow like this and will be on top there. So it's really important to know that you are drawing 3D shapes and not 2D shapes. So now that we have a basic framework for the head, what we're gonna do is simply draw on top. So we're gonna use another layer there, and in black we are going to basically add more details on top of those two front and side views. But we are going to add a little bit more of stylized lines in order to give more life to those characters. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to draw the jaw. Usually it's the first thing to draw on a head. And I'm going to flatten the side of the skull here. And I'm gonna put the ears with a more, you can see more, with a more angular style. Okay, we are not doing geometry here, we are doing drawings. I can add a line there because the ear is facing us, so we can see this part, which is called the helix. It's basically, if you take a ear from the side view, it's basically like this, where you have this part that has like a very important shape. Here is the lobe. Here is a piece of skin that protects the inside of the ear, and inside here we have something that resembles a Y shape. A Y shape like this. Okay, so the red part here is called the helix. And if you're looking from the front view, you can see it. So here is the helix. There. Okay, so now I'm gonna stylize a little bit more the eyes, like this. I'm gonna add a pupil. Note that the pupil is touching the eyelids. It's not floating inside the white of the eyes. Otherwise it looks strange. Or it resembles more a surprise expression. So now I'm going to add eyebrows. And I'm going to add a small asymmetrical position of them, so it is more alive. And the last thing to add is of course the nose. So I'm still going with the triangular shape like this because I think it looks cool and stylized. And the mouth is the last piece to add. So for doing a mouth on a male, what I like to do is this. Basically I like to put the corners of the mouth, draw a simple line just for constructing the idea. I like to put a V shape that represents the part of the part of the upper lips that is like bowing like this. This part is called the septum. So it's the small dimple that you have on top of the below the nose, sorry. So you have the nose like this with the ball of the nose, and I'm going to remake it. So you have here the wings of the nose. You have the wings of the nose. Here you have the ball of the nose, and here you have this part called the septum that touches the top lip like this. So here this represents the shape of the septum. So now what I can do is add on the ear a small shape like this that shows a little bit more the ear. And if I want, I can add a simple hairline. So the hairline will start approximately from here. So it's very different from person to person. So the most important thing to remember is to not draw each strand because it will look very odd. So remember to draw the hairs as a group of hair. So basically you don't want to do this. It looks very odd and even more on a stylized Carter. And because it's a male, if I want, I can add a beard. So here I can draw something like this. In the case of a beard, it's okay, I guess, to put different strands like this because it represents more a mass rather than hair. So you can do it like this if you want. On the side view, what I'm gonna do is the same. So basically the nose here is gonna be more defined than here, but I'm gonna still put a small triangle below in order to represent the shape. And now I can put the lips. So remember that the lips are placed on top of a cylinder shape. I can now draw the jaw like this, a little bit more towards the chin there. And if I want, I can add the ear in the same way. But here it's more frontal in terms of the ear, so we can detail a little bit more the inside. Here we can put the Y like this. So if I want now, I can add the eye with the pupil like this. And I can add, on top of the eye, usually I add a small line that represents the depth of the eye. I can do it here also, like this. It usually gives a more interesting shape, gives depth to present the eye socket a little bit better. And now I'm going to draw the eyebrow like this. I think I'm going to redraw it a little bit better. Like this. And I usually put the other eyebrow there, even though it's not logical, but it gives more depth to a profile. And now I can finish my skull. So for the skull, it's usually a good idea to try to not follow the circle, but more to flatten different parts like this. You can see here I'm flattening the back. It's giving me more interesting shapes. And remember that here we have a shadow. So we can add it like this. So if we want, we can also add the hairs on this shape. So I can from there can add the different parts of the hairline. Can add the different strands in the front there, but still remember to add them as a group. Sometimes you can use different spikes in order to break the silhouette of the hairs. It gives more interesting shapes. Okay, so I think I'm gonna redraw the eye a little bit bigger in order to match the other view. Like this. I think it's looking better according to the other view. And I'm gonna also add a little bit of shadow inside the ear in order to show the depth. So as you can see, using this simple framework, we can create a simple head. So if I want from there, I can add the neck. So you can see that the neck is aligning with the jaw, but we can still a little bit break it up like this. You can see it's a little bit broken there. You can add more silhouette if you want. If you want to make something like a guy like Superman, you will like add even more jaw. But in this case, I'm going to do something like this. It's a pretty generic man here, so I guess it's okay. So now what we are gonna do is to learn how to draw a more feminine looking face. So in order to draw a more feminine looking face, what we're going to do is to use exactly the same framework, but we are going to round all the shapes and add more eyelashes, add more fuller lips, and add smaller details and remove lines. You're gonna see it's a lot like drawing the framework, but in a very in a more appealing aspect. So I'm going to show you. So we are first going to draw a head like this, a circle, sorry, so a sphere, because remember we are drawing in 3D, we are not drawing in 2D. And I'm gonna draw this head in a 3/4 view, so it's going to be more interesting than those guys. So in order for me to have the same guides, I'm gonna draw the center line of the sphere, and I'm gonna also divide it, like I told you for the circle, horizontally. Now from the midpoint of the sphere, I'm gonna drop a line like this, an infinite line if you want, and I'm gonna report, remember, the different cuts. So it's approximately something like this, let's say. Yeah, let's say something like this. At some point you will have to rely on your eye more than on schematic views, so it's important to have an idea visually where it drops. So let's say for now it's approximately there. So now I'm gonna add a circle, not a circle but an ellipse there, in order to chop one side of the sphere. It's like if I've cut this part from the sphere, because it's the temples, so it's more flat. That's why when I drew on top with black here, I said now we're going to flatten the sides. And what we're gonna do is from this point, we're gonna drop the jawline like this. And we're going to finish this. As you can see, this construction is more 3D made, and it's more round than the male. You can see that the chin is a little bit rounder, the jaw is a little bit rounder, and we can also, if we want, add a neck, a very thin neck like this, and you can see that the neck is bent like this. Usually when you're drawing female heads, everything is more curvier, so remember this. So now that I have this framework, what I can do is I can maybe using the eraser soften my construction, and I can take the blue pencil and I can add more details like the eyes. So remember that when drawing the eyes, you are drawing on top of spheres. The eyes are not simple features like this. They are not this. Eyes are drawn on top of spheres. So you can see a sphere like this. Inside you have the pupil. And even more, on top you have something called the cornea, which is a small window here that protects and refracts the light. So, and protects the pupil and refracts the light. So if I take a sphere from the side, the cornea is going to be placed on top like this, and the light can enter from different side into something that we call the pupil, which is a hole, and this hole leads to the back of the eye, where the retina is placed and where the image is translated into light from light to something that you can recognize from your brain. So basically, I went a little bit too far with this, but I think it's still interesting to know and to remember. So here we have the eye. So remember to draw on top of a sphere. In the front here we have the nose. So remember, on a female head, everything is more curvier and more subtle. So we can remove even more. We can remove the bridge of the nose there, even more if we are drawing something stylized. So on top of this we can add the eyelid. Remember to curve them around the sphere. And something to remember on a 3/4 head shape, if you have the eyes like this, first they are probably gonna be the same height, as you can see. But one of the eye, the further away from our view, is going to be squashed horizontally like this. And if I'm drawing something like a cartoony eye, you can see it's still working, even though just squashed one eye. So here what I'm gonna do is add the pupil like this. I'm gonna put a full pupil, a fully black pupil, and I'm gonna emphasize the top eyelid with more bold lines like this. So now that I have the nose, what I can do is I can add the mouth. So the mouth, remember, is more full on a female head. So I can add something like this. So now here I'm gonna drop a line that is the profile, and I can add more cheek than on the male. And I can round everything from there. So now I can here take the chin, make it smaller than the male, and I can add the neck like this. So from there I can add the ear. So same thing here, the ear is gonna be placed in between the eyebrow and the bottom of the nose. But remember that you are in a 3/4 view, so you have perspective. So you need to do something like this. So I'm gonna add the Y of the ear inside of the helix. And next thing to do is maybe to add an eyebrow. So remember that here it's being wrapped in perspective. So you see something more curvier than the other eyebrow. And the last thing that makes it directly a feminine, a female head is the hair. So we are going to put hair from there, and then we are going to draw hair. So for the hair, usually what I'm doing for a female is, remember that you have a lot of mass that is being dropped on top there. And after this, so here you have a compression of a lot of hair. And after this, due to the gravity, it's falling and dropping. And at the end there, it's being squished together, so it's curving a lot. So usually on female hair, on long female hair, usually what you have is, here it's pretty tensed. You have tension there. And on the bottom there, it's curvy because it's being stacked together. What I can do also is add a front strand there. Usually this adds a lot of femininity to the drawing. So now what I can do is, on top of this, of course, I can redraw everything. That's my process. Usually I like to sketch a lot in a different color, and on top of it with a different layer and different color, I like to clean. So now what I can do is clean this drawing and add a little bit more of stylization to it. So I'm starting usually with the jaw and the profile, and now I can add the eyes. Usually they are the window to the soul, that's what we say. Doesn't help to draw them perfectly, but it's good to know that they are the window to the soul. I'm going to add the nose. As you can see, it's a pretty fat nose in fact, compared to usually what I'm doing. But it's still, I think it still has a lot of charm. And now I can add the eyebrows. Remember, on a female, not to make them too fat, otherwise it's going to look strange and more masculine. So even there I can remove a little bit of mass. And for the lips, I've done a very stylized lips there, a little bit in the vein of what we can see on traditional animated movies, like for instance Pocahontas or movies like this, where the lips were simple triangles like this. So if you look at Pocahontas, for instance, the lips are being drawn like this. Very full lips and very stylized shapes. So, but the most important thing here for the lips to remember is that because you are on a 3/4 view, the center line will be approximately there, so you have a very small width there compared to the rest of the lips. Sorry. So now what we can do is add the ears. So I'm going to add a strand there. Here you can see I'm more free. I'm drawing more freely, but I'm still thinking about the ears as a group of strands rather than single hair strands. Here it's more flat usually. And here I have the ear that is being overlapped with the hair. And here I can have other strands of hair there. So this will be my approach for drawing a more feminine head. This framework that I've shown to you can be reused for drawing heads in different angles. So for instance, if I take again my red pen, I'm going there, I can still, for instance, start using the circle. I can still draw the midline. I can still draw the mid horizontal line like this. Sorry, it's getting a little bit messy, but we're going there. I can still drop a line for the jaw. I can still finish my jaw like this. I can still add my neck. I can also add my ear. You can see the ear is a little bit higher on this view. We are more in the bottom, on a bottom view there. I can still eyeball my ears like this, and now I can, because I'm more in a bottom view, I can add my nose. So a nose being seen from the front, from the bottom, is more like this, and still have my lips. Here, maybe I can be more straight, like this. I can see maybe the holes of the nose there. You can see a little bit of the wing, and of course I can see my eyes, but more round there because of the slight up angle. And you can see the brows like this. Maybe the cheek there is a little bit too much, so I can redraw it like this. Maybe I can add eyelashes. And as you can see, I can also add my hair strength. So let's do a different hairstyle for this girl. Maybe let's do something like this. A more short hair cut. And I can still add the neck in the middle. So maybe if I want to add more femininity to her, sorry, I can create this a thinner and longer neck like this. And as you can see, I'm still able on the up angle to draw the head using this framework. So I can add a layer on top, and using my black pen, I can finish my drawing. Maybe the chin can be a little bit more pointier. And the nose a little bit rounder. So I can add the first hole of the nose right there. Maybe I can remove lines because it's getting a little bit messy there. So let's just add the more important lines. So this one, I think it's really important, like this. And right there I have those lines that represents the eyebrows, sorry. Can add the forehead. Here I can add the ear. So the ear is gonna be more, it's gonna be seen more from the bottom, so I can flatten a little bit the lines there and add more shapes like this that represent the helix that we've seen right there. So the lips from the bottom here is being seen a lot because we are seeing from the bottom, from a bottom view. This line is a little bit curved, again because of the perspective, and I can still add my full bottom lips like this, maybe a little bit more in the perspective like this. Okay. Maybe I need to tilt it a little bit more. Maybe I will also shorten the bottom lips because it's more logical to see less in this case. Can add a small indication of the chin right there. And I can also, if I want, design my shadows like this, my shadow like this. And as for the eye, you can see less of the top, less of the bottom, sorry, but more of the top. That's why the bottom eyelid is more flat, as you can see. And I will put the eyelid right there. And finish my drawing with my hairs like this. I can put a strand on top of the ear, adds more, gives more depth to the drawing, something like this. So as you can see, even from a slightly tilted angle, this framework can still be used. In order to represent the different proportions of the head. So I'm gonna give you a few more tips that helped me a lot when I had to learn how to draw different heads. I'm still learning, of course. We will always learn stuff in our artist life, So I still encourage everybody to open anatomy books, dive into more tutorials, meet people, meet different artists, go on different events about drawing and art. So, but one thing that was very helping for me when I had to learn more stuff about drawing the head was the fact that everything is made out of simple shapes again. But those simple shapes takes time to master. I'm still learning a lot about them. And those shapes are the cylinder. So the cylinder is something like this. The cylinder can be turned into space because it's a 3D shape. So from the front, the cylinder looks like this. From the side, the cylinder looks like this. So it's a square and a circle. And in 3D, for instance, from a bird view, for instance, can be represented like this. I'm adding different lines in order to show the depths. And it can also be shortened here for the tooth, sorry. As you can see. It can also serve as a base for the ear, as you can see right there. And it's very important to be able to draw shapes like cylinders in space from different angles, because using this as as your main tools, you will be able to draw everything and to deconstruct everything, every pieces that you want to draw, every object and characters that you want to draw. The other shape that is really important to learn to draw is the cube. So you really want to master the cube in perspective. So you really want to know how to draw it, but freely. I don't want you to draw it with a line, rulers or utilities like you have in Photoshop for drawing lines and stuff like this. I really want you to know how it feels to draw those shapes freely. So, for instance, here I'm drawing a 2-point perspective cube, because if I project those lines like this, they are going to meet in a very far away vanishing point. So it means that it's a 2 points. But if we project those lines too, we can see it also meets at a 3rd point, so it's a 3-point perspective cube. If I want to draw a 2-point perspective cube, I'll do something like this, because I don't see 3 planes, I see only 2 that are meeting at 2 perspective points there. So it's good to know the theory behind this, but it's more important to draw freely a shape in space and gauge and judge if they're right or not. So for instance, if I want to draw a head starting from a cube, I can draw something like this. So it's representing the shape of my head as a skull, but as a boxy skull. As you can see, it's more important to be able to draw this freely rather than like drawing lines and vanishing points, etc., because you're going to lose time and lose energy in your drawings. So think about simple shapes. Everything can be deconstructed out of simple shapes. So for instance, here it's a face from the side view. You can see it's a box plus a box. So if I know how to draw a box, and I add a box below in the half portion of this box, I know how to draw a basic head in perspective. You can see. And the last and really important shape is the sphere. So the sphere, as we said, is the base of the skull. It's also the base of the eye. It's also the base of the nose. So if I draw a ball like this, on top of this, I can mix it with a cube-like shape. And you can see that I can get something that resembles a nose. So after you've trained yourself to draw different primitive shapes in different angles and in different perspective, meaning like different different field of view, camera field of view, and different in different locations, you can start combining those forms. So for instance, you can start understanding that the head could be made out of a sphere, for instance, and the bottom can be made out of a cube, but a cube that is slightly that is not slightly, but that is cut in half horizontally, diagonally, sorry. And now you can come out with your own method for drawing a head, for instance. So it's really important to know that there is not only one method. Those methods that we saw at the beginning are the easy one in case you are lost, just in order to find your good proportions and to know the different relation between the features of your head. But as soon as you've get a sense of where to place different features, you will find shortcuts to draw your own framework, something that you like the most. So as you can see here, I've also put a cylinder that is like a little bit twisted, like this. So if I had to draw it from the side, it will resemble something like this. So now if I put it in 3D, it's something like this. So yes, as you can see, you can come up with your own methodology in order to draw the different shapes. And this is very key if you want to, for instance, animate something. If I want to animate a character in 2D, it's really important to know a basic framework for drawing the character the same way again and again and again. If you want to draw comic books, for instance, if you want to draw concept art for games, if you want to create characters that you're gonna reuse again and again, you will have to find your own drawing methodology, your own drawing framework in order to know how to draw your characters and your heads in different angles. And it's also a way for sharing with a team how to draw the same character and also in the same way, in the same style. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you had a great time watching it. I would like to apologize for my French accent. As you have may heard, I'm not a native English speaker. but I still hope you understood the tips and tricks I wanted to share, and see you around. Thank you.